Greetings, everybody. This is FitSpaz Recovery. I'm your host, Paul, the producer, and I'm here to help you get fit, stay healthy, and stay sober. So what's going on? If I'm not mistaken, this is my 50th podcast episode. Yay! So I've been doing this almost a year. It'll technically be a year in a month, about a month from now in August, but I'm pleased with how my approach to this has progressed. And I was thinking, reading my book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Love the word magic. Magic. I was thinking, reading it about this one chapter about people who are doers and other people who think about doing but don't do it. Just ruminating, thinking, I don't want to be the guy who doesn't do it. I want to be the guy who does it. And I'm just thinking about, I was doing a personal accounting. I don't know why I wanted to say and before personal. But so I'm going through all the things in my life I think are good and worthwhile. I'm a little worried. If this gets cut off, I'll just have to deal with it. All the things in my life that are worthwhile, going through all the good things I've been doing, the consistent things I've been doing. And I was asking myself, sort of inspired by this reading, how to improve on what I'm doing already. And this is a myriad of things. So like this podcast, this show being one of them, whatever it is. How can I reach more people? How can I help more people? How can I make this more special and more dynamic? And one of the ways is I'm going to start getting guests on here. I know I've said that before, but I kind of have to, it's a whole technical thing, tying this computer into somehow either working with Skype or tying this mixer into working with a hard phone line, which I don't really want to pay for. But I have to figure it out somehow because I want to have that interactivity on here, because in addition to having my perspective on things, I want to get other people in on the mix and talk to people who've had experience with substance abuse issues, especially people who've sobered up. And even talk to some fitness people too. I want to work them in because they have a lot of good ways to improve the quality of life. And so other ways besides this show, this podcast, this being a big one, because this ties into my sobriety. This ties into me having sort of a complex accountability system. I come on here and tell you guys what I've been up to during the week. And it also ties into my fitness. So I kind of want to tie all those things together and sort of help more people get something of value out of it. It's important for me to help people. And by getting guests on here, having to engage more with people that way, it'll get me more social and dialed in socially, because I know I've told you guys how I have a problem being isolated sometimes. That's all very true. So the more I can do at every single angle to build my life out that way, the better. So yeah, I want to improve these things, make it better so that I feel better about myself, help me. Then when I feel better about myself, I'll be better able to serve you and help you. And when I help you, you help me. And then it's this cycle of paying it forward. And it works really well for all of us. So I do recommend this book, by the way, The Magic of Thinking Big. It has a special way that it speaks to me. And it's just the tonality, the way the guy speaks. So it's one of those things I do that's positive for myself. I read a little something, and when I'm focused on reading, I'm not off dwelling on something negative. Although this last chapter I read, quite honestly, the right toward people, think right toward people. Is that the one? Oh, no. Get the action habit. That's the chapter I read. I was like, I can't be one of these people who just sits here, and I've been sitting around a long time. I've had a lot of good personal development, and so I want to move forward on a lot of things. Episode 50, people. Yay, confetti. Woo! Blowing one of those things. So, what else is on tap this week? Still doing my workouts. I'm in the last phase of my 4th round of Body Beast. I haven't done it's been fragmented. In certain ways, things have been a little more spread out, giving my back time to mend. Very important to pay attention to one's health like that. So I haven't done as many leg workouts because I distinctly noticed that those have a tendency to irritate my back. And so I want to give myself the break I need to recuperate, get my back in very good working order before I get back into those. I miss it though. I actually really do. But I've gotten additional other kinds of, I've gotten all kinds of extra arm workouts in this round. And yeah, I'm gonna be vain. I'll show you my arms. It's funny. I look at my arm like this, and in my brain, I'm like, that is a skinny arm, very skinny. I see my arm compared to other guys, and I'm like, skinny arm. But when I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, I can totally say my arm is bigger. And I also see it as bigger when I compare it to photos from the past, even a few years ago. I'm like, oh, big difference. I want to keep going. I want to keep confusing this muscle and building it and growing it. So this body beast routine is not, it's not as thorough as the ones before. However, most of all the other workouts I've done, I've been lifting quite a bit more weight than I have in the past. If you compare it to the first round I did, there's an astronomical increase in the amount of weight I'm lifting and the amount of strength I've gained, the overall amount of muscle mass I have. I was about 143 when I started before my first round, and I'm up to about 177. And I do have a little bit of a gut, and that's because my nutrition is far from ideal. There's some really good things I do with the things I eat, but I kind of just eat whatever I want. If you put it in front of me and it's good, I'll be like, I'll eat it. I have desserts and whatnot. So I'm lucky that way with my metabolism, because I don't really get easily heavy. And I mean, just from accumulating blubber on my body, which makes me feel good. So this year, since I'm talking about things I'm going to do and improving myself, I'll continue by saying I'm going to continue exercising in one form or another. I'm sure I'm going to be coming back to a lot of these same body beast workouts to maintain the current muscle mass I have. Do cardio, because nothing makes me feel good like cardio. It's crazy. When you run, you get that endorphin thing going, and I feel so good getting the blood flowing through the body and the brain. And I think that when the body's warmed up like that and you're circulating really well, of course it's good for your circulation, but that circulation, and when you're well hydrated, it gets the nutrients to the body, so it's a source of healing. And the other parts of my morning routine, I'm continuing with the meditation. I'm always trying to tweak it and change it a little, and I'm still maintaining a very good habit of when I go in to do it, like immediately I have the mindset that I'm giving into this right now. I'm doing this, and I'm going to get something very good and positive out of it. And I kid you not. So lately, my total amount of time I've been meditating is 23 minutes. I go through the whole spiel. It probably takes me like 13 to 15 minutes to go through all the things in my head I go through to clear my mind out, to relax my whole body. But within the first minute or two of saying the first few lines, I'm already feeling, there's no doubt I'm already feeling like an accentuated calm, because I'm just letting go. I'm in the habit of just immediately letting go and being like, and relaxation being a very key component of it. Several other things, maybe I'll go more into it again on another episode, but relaxation being the key component, relaxation being something I want it to basically be a habit, built-in habit with everything I deal with in life, challenging, or whether I'm playing guitar, whether I'm reading a book, whether I'm having a discussion with somebody, just being even keel, evened out. And it's really good. I do notice, like I've told you guys, having an extended period of sobriety now. I'm almost to 19 months. I think it's the 11th today, if I'm not mistaken. And so 4 more days, I'll have 19 months. I already have 19 months of no drinking. Then technically tomorrow will be 19 months of no drinking. And then on the 15th, it'll be 19 months of no smoking marijuana. Very glad, very calm. I'm feeling a little challenged. What do I want to say? I just don't want to blabber. I'm like, do I want to go down that path or not? I'm not ready to tell you that. So last week, I think it was Friday or Saturday morning, I had an appointment on the phone to talk to this fella, Paul Churchill from Recovery Elevator. And he has people on his show who have an extended period of sobriety. And so people come on there and talk about it. And it was a pleasure getting to talk to him. He has a long time sober himself. I should have asked him exactly how long. I've listened to many of his episodes. His format is basically he talks to a lot of people who have a good period of sobriety built up and their experience getting sober. And it was quite nice and pleasant, and I want to thank him. And I think you can go to recoveryelevator.com. If not .com, it's .org. And I know he has a page available on Facebook. If you want to check that out, go ahead and do that. I had a good time with him. It hasn't posted online yet, though. I think he said it will be 3 or 4 weeks before he gets that posted online. You can be sure that as soon as he does, I will let you know about it. Last week I had a very interesting show, in my opinion, because I started watching this program called Strange Addictions, and I detailed a few different people. One who has an addiction to eating plastic bags, another person who has an addiction to eating the foam inside mattresses, and another person who's addicted to eating makeup. And I was going on this week thinking about people who have different kinds of addictions, and there are more I want to talk about. Wash that down, get that all fresh and nice. For those of you just listening to the podcast, I took a drink of water to refresh my palate. So 2 of these, let's start with one. The first one I want to talk about, it's not, the second one actually isn't part of that show. It's just something I started thinking about earlier today. It's, some people have a dreadful, low self-esteem, something about their physicality bothers them. So they become addicted to plastic surgery. And there was this young fella on there, I would say in his early 20s, 2 of them. They were totally addicted to plastic surgery. This one guy, both of these guys, let me begin by saying they were born with exceptionally good looks. Okay, like I would not be complaining at all if I were born with the exceptional good looks of these young guys. It's like, and so these guys, one of them got a bee up his butt about wanting to look like Justin Bieber. So he's had just multiple surgeries, changing the shape of his face and his bone structure to look like Justin Bieber, which I think is absurd, and I think it's a mental issue, honestly. And this other kid, his whole deal was he wanted to look like a doll, so he was kind of wanting to perfect his body and his face in a way that's not the human ideal of perfection, but this cartoonish ideal of perfection. So he went out, he got his face just all carved up, and it kind of looks really really artificial. And he got silicone implants in his pecs and in his biceps and his shoulders, I think, too. And he was looking at doing it in his abdomen. And I'm like, holy cow. I felt like telling that guy, you can, and it's really expensive. He was remarking how expensive all this, doing this stuff is. And I'm like, do you know that what you have there, you can get that from working out? If you work out consistently for a year or 2, not even that super hard, you can kind of get that shape you have, and you increase your strength, you better your health. So I was just flabbergasted that, it's just this easy, quick fix way of having a shape, but it's not real. So if you feel it, it's like, it's not like a real muscle that you can tense up and make feel strong. And he didn't have the strength, so he's this gay kid, and he's waving a flag in this, right? Like he's going on this boat and he's waving a flag and he's like, oh, my arm is so tired because my muscles are plastic. And I'm like, that's exactly why you should be working out. And and the family and loved ones who are just like, I just want to be supportive of what he wants. But really, when you have somebody who's born with perfect looks wanting to go out and get plastic surgery, I don't get it at all, because it's really important that you work on yourself. And I've said this before, like, to accept oneself for who you are. Like, I'm bald. I'm not happy about being bald. And I could spend 15 grand and go get like transplanted hair in my head. I've thought about it. It's totally a possibility, but like it's important for me to feel comfortable as whoever I am. So that's what I want to say to those guys and the family members. It's just so important, self-acceptance for who you and what you are. And you know that when you start doing it, okay, let me give you an example of, I'm not saying all plastic surgery is bad, it doesn't have a place. Let me give you an example of a plastic surgery that makes perfect sense, that can totally positively change the life of someone with a valid issue. Not these already gorgeous GQ guys, okay, but so there are these kids who are born with hair lips, you know what I mean? They have a very disfigured lip, and it's very alarming when you look at them. You're like, oh my gosh, that's so different. And so they develop this self-conscious feeling whenever you look at anybody, their lip is messed up. And so there are these charity organizations with doctors and so forth. They go to third world countries and they find kids who have this problematic hair lip, and they give them plastic surgery right there to fix the lip and give it a much more natural, normal look. And so they go from having a very scary, disfigured looking lip to looking 99% normal. And you should see the smile on their face when they get normal again, these after pictures they take. And so that's an example of somebody who has a really legitimate concern. And then you get into American society and whatnot, and people with the quick fix mentality, and everything has to be perfect, and the obsessive, overly obsessive focus on looks and vanity and so forth. And you get people who have these deep-seated insecurities, but they have no business having these insecurities. So they get addicted to something like plastic surgery. And like I was saying last week, look at the wide latitude of things people can get addicted to, all because of insecurity, all because they were either traumatized or they're insecure, someone said something to them, or these heavy messages we have to endure with the media and so forth. It's understandably all too much, and it can have a big impact on the psyche, okay? Like growing up, part of why I'm working out, I've always wanted to be bigger and have a little bit more shape, but part of why I'm working out is I've literally been told by women when I was younger, and women I wanted to date, Paul's cute, but he's too skinny. A few years ago in a pub, my friend was like, hey, you interested in Paul? And she said, oh, he's cute, but he's too small for me. And I'm like, I mean, so I've gotten that a lot. And believe me, I'm not like someone who's like, it really doesn't bother me. It does bother me. It's like, wow, it's like you don't give me a chance as a person at all. You just see this outer me. So there is part of me who works out for that reason, but I'll be damned if I'm going to go get plastic surgery and build my pecs up that way and my arms up that way. I think that would be like emotionally compensating something instead of working on it truly, like working on it truly through therapy and self-examination and being around the right types of people who appreciate you for what you are. You go and you have this artificial approach, and that's what people do emotionally with drugs. And so it's like biting your nails, like I've talked about that before. Any single strange thing you can get addicted to, that's the outcome, that's the result of some insecurity that has some basis in something, and it's worth much more intrinsically, and it costs much less monetarily to address it at the root of it inside yourself, accepting yourself for who you are, working out a little bit, getting your heart pumping, getting healthy because your body loves it. And instead of going and getting pec implants, I just don't understand why a guy would want to do that. And then he's like, oh my God, I can't lift my arm up. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. Ha 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 ha. I'm like, lift some weights, bro. And there's part of me that feels sad too, because what are you reaching for? Because I see this before picture of you. Like, I would be thrilled if I were born with those kinds of looks. So plastic surgery, You can also, so we all get old, and some people will age more gracefully than others, and so some people get addicted to surgery because they're trying to maintain that youthful look. And so my philosophy regarding plastic surgery is, if you cross that line of where you don't look natural anymore, if you go to like Michael Jackson face, I'm sorry, that's like what I call it. Some people will be like, that's politically incorrect, but whatever. Honestly, if you way cross that line and you start to look more freakish, then you've gone too far. I can't even understand why people want to do that. So if you're aging and use, let's say they have these lasers that'll just get rid of the fine little wrinkles you have, and it's like very minor maintenance over time. So you go in yearly and they're just like, okay, here's like a little aging wrinkle, and they zap that and you leave. But these people who start getting facelifts and pulling their face back, it starts becoming an obsession. And if it's anything beyond that point, you know, where you start looking unnatural, that's where I think it's a problem. And even a moral ethical doctor should say, like, hey, it's not about me giving someone a freakish look because they have something. If someone has something wrong with their mind and you're taking them past the point of where they look natural, you're actually doing something wrong as a doctor. That's my philosophy. But if you're like, hey, this is the smart ethical way to go, just extremely light maintenance, never cross that line of looking unnatural. These people who put in too much Botox, or like their lips, they do something dramatic to their lips. It's like, I see so many people who cross that line naturally, and I'm like, oh man, you would have looked so perfectly fine if you hadn't done that. And this is not me shaming you. This is me giving a warning to others. We should all work on ourselves, our minds. And it's a trap, like when you're in Hollywood. Have you seen Meg Ryan? Take a look at Meg Ryan. Go look at a picture of Meg Ryan today. All that woman had to do to look amazing is just age naturally. And if you're gonna do anything, don't do more than crossing the line of what looks like natural, okay? It saddens me. She's not the only one who's done that. I've known people personally who've done that, and it's like, I keep going back to, you have to accept yourself for who you are, like whatever the character trait is we're talking about. So if you look at myself directly straight on and you get really, really critical about it, okay, so to me symmetry is beautiful, but my nostrils are not exactly symmetric. So but I'm not gonna go get them operated on. You would never notice that unless I told you. And now if you know me, you'll like look really close. I feel like I can kind of see it in here, but it's so minor that it doesn't even, it's like enough symmetry to pass off as symmetry, but an obsessed person might get carried away with that. And it's the same with the hair. It's just like these little things, and we notice it about ourselves, and other people have brought attention to it, so we develop these insecurities about it. And addictions form from insecurities like this. So, of course, in Hollywood, you're going to have people abusing the living crap out of plastic surgery because there's so much pressure in Hollywood to conform to a physical ideal, and it's tragic. It's just super tragic, except who you are. So I'm going on and on about this. It means a lot to me, and I'm just telling people, accept who you are for the love of Pete, whatever that phrase means. Metallica! I love Metallica, okay? This is a shirt I picked up recently. I figured that shirt's cool enough for me to wear. It's, of course, classic Metallica, Kill 'Em All. I love this band. Lately, I've been revisiting this band. I've been listening to a lot of heavy metal, but in particular Metallica. I love classic Metallica. Everything between their first album up to the Black Album, I'm like, yes, freaking wicked. So I think these guys are amazingly talented, and I've even watched several different documentaries on YouTube about, they're like several hour-long documentaries about the making of these albums. And I sit there and watch it, and I'm fascinated with the whole process of them making their album. trying different solos over a certain part or different arrangements. And I love that stuff. I live for that stuff. And it's just like, I would say it's my personal hobby lately. So we've talked on here about, at least I've talked about, escapism, watching TV, having something that gets your mind out of yourself and you enjoy it and it feels good, especially if you're thinking about getting high or something. And that's what I'm watching. I'm listening to and watching Metallica. And of course I do the heavy metal lawn mowing. That's my own, it's a physical activity and you can't hear any other soft music when mowing the lawn. So it's like heavy metal and lawn mowing go together perfectly. That's what I think. And I saw this shirt and I was like, hell yeah, I want that shirt. That's a cool shirt. And the red kind of represents blood. I like that. So, okay, I'm actually at a point where I need to start wrapping this show up. And I was kind of thinking I might get into something else that I've never talked about. And I'll probably save it for next week. So if you want to tune in next week, I will talk about people who get addicted to money. And so addictions in so many ways are all the same. If you become flush with money, I bet you your brain lights up when you scan it in the same way that when someone snorts a line of Coke or takes a hit off a crack pipe or drinks a shot of vodka or uses Facebook and gets 100 likes. Why not? I bet you. Just somebody do that study. Someone bring down the Facebook. For God's sake, bring down the Facebook. Social media heroin. So yeah, I want to wrap this up. This is my 50th episode. Those of you who might be listening regularly, check it out, check back, because I'm going to try and develop this thing to be more. I want to thank Kevin MacLeod for all the great music I get to play on this show. Check him out by going to incompetech.com. Any previous shows you might want to check out, you can go to FitSpaz.com to discover it all. There are links there to the podcast feed in iTunes that you can subscribe to. Stitcher, if you use an Android phone, you can subscribe to the podcast on Stitcher. And of course, there's always going to YouTube from FitSpaz.com and subscribing to these videos, getting an idea for me physically. You can be like, this guy talks like he's all big and stuff, but he's not big, he's skinny. But you know how cool it is? I used to say, like, it's so cool to be skinny and hold a guitar and have a waist like that. And in some respects it is. And I feel like youthful because of all that. Anyway, carrying on. Everything is accessible through fitspaz.com, and you can always send feedback to me by sending messages to paul@fitspaz.com. And I very much appreciate those of you who are listening. I'm going to keep trying to do this, and we'll see historically if it might become something that's important to some people. I'm not doing this to try and become famous. I'm doing this to try and build up enough of a following of people that I might be able to help a group consistently or help new people here and there consistently. The goal here is not to be Mr. Big in the world. I really want to help to be of service to people and also through fitness. So if you're thinking like you'd like to do something along those lines, I'm also available to you in that regard as well. So that is all I want to say today. Metallica rules. I love Metallica. They are so cool, those guys. And that is how I will wrap it up. Everybody have a nice week. Take care, and I will talk to you next week.